Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Welcome to our lesson on the building blocks of our world. Today we are going to talk about molecules. We will learn exactly what they are, how to count the atoms inside them, and why some things are gases while others are solid. I am Ms. Amara Imran Malik and let's make this lesson simple together. The first question given in your exercises is what is a molecule? Think of a molecule as a small team of atoms. If you have just one atom by itself, it's an atom. But once two or more atoms glue together, join together using a chemical bond, they become a molecule. This team is the smallest piece of a substance that can still act like substance. This is the smallest particle of that substance. Like water molecules are the smallest substance, the smallest pieces of that water. So, answer for your question will be a molecule is the smallest unit of the substance that can exist on its own and keep its chemical properties. It is made up of two or more atoms bonded together. There are some key characteristics that you people must have to keep in your mind. These molecules can be made up of same elements, like if there are two atoms of the same element, like two atoms of oxygen bonding together make up the oxygen molecule. Two atoms of the same element, another like nitrogen or hydrogen, they are able to make the molecules of that same element. But molecules can be made up of two different elements like carbon dioxide. So this is a molecule which is made by two different elements. These are carbon and oxygen. And water is made up of two different elements like hydrogen and oxygen. You can also see different structures on your screen as well. Molecules that are formed from identical atoms, molecules can be formed from identical atoms like atoms of the same element or different atoms like atoms of different elements. This is the key point that you must have to keep in your mind. Next is how we people are able to count the atoms of the molecules. How many atoms are there? So molecules can be made in two ways. Sometimes atoms of the same type join up, for example, like two oxygen atoms join to make an oxygen molecule. Other times different type of atoms join up, like one carbon atom joining two oxygen atoms to make carbon dioxide. So the key difference here is that O2, for example, oxygen, O2 is made up of same elements, while carbon dioxide, CO2, it is made up of two different elements. Both are molecules because they are held together by a chemical bond. The question given in your books is like you have to count the atoms of sulfur molecule. So there are total 8 atoms of sulfur used to make up that sulfur molecule. And how many atoms are there in oxygen molecule? There are only two atoms of oxygen which are bonding together to make up the oxygen molecule. You must have to keep in your mind a simple tip. Diatomic means the molecules which are made up of two atoms. Polyatomic, like poly means many. So S8 sulfur molecule is a polyatomic molecule, and monatomic molecules like helium, neon, argon, all these inert gases are made up of only one only one atom because their outermost shell is complete. So your answer for the question that is given in your books is you have to count the number of atoms in sulfur molecule and oxygen. So a sulfur molecule contains 8 atoms while an oxygen molecule contains only 2 atoms. Moving towards your next, why nitrogen is a gas? but carbon is a solid. It's all about the glue between particles. You can say it's all about the bonding between particles. Nitrogen, N2, lives as small separate molecules. The force holding one molecule to another is very weak. It's like a light sticky note, easy to pull apart because they are easy to separate. So nitrogen stays as a gas because their force of attraction between different molecule is very weak. Intermolecular forces are very weak. The forces which are present between molecules. So structure type, first of all, simple molecular structure. Nitrogen is having a simple molecular structure and it can exist as an individually as N2 molecules. While if we talk about your carbon, so its structure type is a giant covalent structure because it forms like diamond and graphite. It is formed by the network of different molecules, it is made by different the network of different atoms together. The forces between molecules, these are the intermolecular forces. The force of attraction between different molecules, like N2 is one molecule which is made up of two different atoms. So the force of attraction between these two atoms is intramolecular force, while the force of attraction between two different nitrogen molecules, this is intermolecular forces, and it is very weak. While if we talk about the bonds within the structure or the strong covalent bonds between different carbon atoms, so they are very strong. And if the structure is very simple, like nitrogen is having a very simple molecular structure, so it needs a very little energy to separate these molecules from each other. So it's very easy for these molecules to exist as a gas at room temperature. While large amount of energy is needed to break bonds between carbon atoms when they are formed, when they are present in the solid state in the form of like diamond or graphite. So you people will have to learn like nitrogen exists as a simple molecule with weak intermolecular forces, so little energy is needed to separate them and it is a gas, whereas carbon has a giant covalent structure with strong covalent bond requiring a large amount of energy to break, so it is a solid. Moving towards your next question, it's about melting points. You people are having a table given in your books. In this table, different melting points are given to you of different elements. So melting point, basically what it is the temperature where something turns from solid to liquid. When it starts melting when it starts turning from solid to liquid state. Helium melts at minus 272 degrees Celsius, while oxygen melts at minus 218 degrees Celsius. Even though both are very cold, helium has the lowest melting point out of them because helium's melting point is minus 272 degrees Celsius and it is monatomic particle. It is made up of only one atom, while oxygen, it is made up of two atoms and make O2. That is why helium's melting point is very low. Helium is monoatomic, like that is it exists as a single atom, which means that there are very forces between the atoms. Very little energy is required to separate them. Helium has the lowest melting point. You people will have to learn it for your answer as well. Helium has the lowest melting point because it exists as a single atom with very weak intermolecular forces. So very little energy is required to separate them. The next question is element X exists as a single atom. Predict its states at room temperature. If any element which is existing as a single atom, as a monatomic element, so which thing comes into your mind? If I tell you element X exists as a single atom, can you guess if it is a solid or a gas? Because single atoms have almost no grip on each other. There are very weak intermolecular forces, so they can move freely around, and they are able to move independently wherever they want. That is why we can easily judge the state is gas, and this is because single atoms have very weak forces between them, giving them a very low boiling point. Examples can include like helium, neon, argon, etc. All these are the elements which are the part of your group 8 or the inert gases. What is the reasoning chain? How we can easily judge that whether it is a solid, liquid or gas? Firstly, element X exists as an individual atom means it exists as a single atom. If it is existing as a single atomic particle, then there is very little force of attraction between atoms, and we need a very little energy to separate these atoms. As the result, atoms are able to move freely wherever they want in all directions. That is why we can judge that this element can exist in the form of gas. There is one thing that you must remember, you must memorize this thing. This is the most important rule in chemistry, like the state of the substance, like how many states of substance that we have learned about: solid, liquid or gases. All these states depend on the forces between the particles. We are not talking about the bonds inside them, we are talking about the forces present between two different molecules. Is it clear? So breaking the weak forces between molecule is just a physical change. It's like melting or boiling or evaporation. While breaking the strong bonds inside a molecule, it's a chemical reaction. And the weak intermolecular forces are what determine that state. Intermolecular forces, the forces between different molecules, while intramolecular forces or the bonds, they are very strong and we need a larger amount of energy to break them. The physical state of substance depends on the strength of intermolecular forces between particles rather than the strength of bonds within the particles. Intramolecular bonds within the molecule, the force of attraction or the bond present, if we are talking about, let's suppose we are taking the example of O2. Now the force between two oxygen atoms, this force of attraction, this is a covalent bond and this is called intramolecular bond. While if we talk about intermolecular forces, these are the forces which are present between molecules. And you will have to remember the difference between intermolecular forces and intramolecular bonds. Now we are just moving towards your workbook part. There are different. Question number 1 which is given over there is you just have to judge whether the statement is right or wrong, and if the statement is not correct, what will be its correct statement. The first statement given over there is the molecule is any particle made up of 3 or more atoms. So what do you think, whether it is right or wrong? A molecule is any particle which is made up of 3 atoms, 3 or more atoms. So it's a false statement. And how we people can make it correct? Molecules can have 2 or more atoms. Molecules must have minimum 2 atoms over there, diatomic molecules. The next statement is a hydrogen molecule is made up of 2 atoms. Hydrogen molecule means H2. H2 means there are 2 atoms of hydrogen. So this is true statement. The statement is correct. Next, most metal elements exist as molecules. So this is false. Most metal elements, they form a giant metallic lattice or the structures, not small molecules. Metals always make the joint molecular structures. On the side, the tip is also given to you that you just have to remember or memorize, like two or more atoms, they are able to make up the molecules. Molecule is equals to two or more atoms bonding together, while metals is not are not the molecules, they are making the giant structures. These are the specific key takeaways, like you have to keep these things in your mind. And for the third statement, you just have to count atoms which are using the chemical formula, which are using to make the chemical formula for that molecule. Next, elements that exist as small molecules have low melting point. Yes, it's correct, because they are having a very weak forces. To break those intermolecular forces, they are having a weak intermolecular forces and need a very little amount of energy to break them. Next is, an oxygen molecule is made up of two atoms. Yes, it's very correct. Oxygen molecule, the formula for oxygen molecule is O2, and O2 means it's a diatomic molecule and it is made up of two oxygen atoms. The next statement is that a sulfur molecule is made up of 10 atoms. So we already have learned about sulfur atom. What is the formula for sulfur atom? Sulfur molecule. Sulfur molecule is made up of 8 atoms of sulfur. S8 is its formula. So the statement is not correct. It's wrong. Sulfur molecule is made up of 8 atoms. Next is, carbon exists as joint molecules. Yes, it's very correct. We already have read in this topic about diamond and graphite. Elements that exist as joint molecules have low melting point. No, it's not correct. Elements that exist as joint molecules, they are having a very strong bonds, and they are having, due to the presence of these strong bonds, they are having a high melting point. You just have to keep in your mind these golden rules. You have to learn or memorize it. Smaller molecules are having low melting point, while the giant structures are having higher melting points. Single atoms, you're all inert gases like helium, neon, argon, xenon, krypton, etc. And the giant structures, we already have learned about diamond and graphite. They are having very strong bonds and they are having high melting points. While smaller molecules, these are the diatomic molecules or the polyatomic molecules. One of them is sulfur, that is S8, and diatomic molecules we have read over there are O2, H2 and N2. Moving next, you just have to identifying molecules over there. So to be a molecule, you must have a bond between atoms. There must be two or more atoms, and these two or more atoms are having bond between them. That is why that structure can be categorized as a molecule. So the first option that is given to you is oxygen, O2. Oxygen is made up of two atoms bonding together. And the next one is bromine, that is Br2. They are also made up of two atoms of bromine. Hydrogen molecule, it is also made up of two hydrogen atoms, H2. While helium, it's a single monoatomic structure. It is made up of only one atom, and neon is also made up of only one atom. Noble gases exist as single atoms with no bonding between them because they are stable on their own. Their outermost shell are complete. Next is table is given to you. Different elements A, B, C and D are given over there, and their melting points are there as well. Different questions concerning to this table. The first question over there is, which has the highest melting point? So out of them, A, B, C and D, have a look on their melting points. What do you think which is having the highest melting point? Yes, element A, We don't know what element A is, what is its name, or what is its chemical symbol, because these are not the chemical symbols, these are just imaginary name that we have to assume element A, B, C, and D. Element A, it's a giant molecular structure and its melting point is highest. Which element has the lowest melting point? So which one is having the lowest melting point, that is minus 220 degrees Celsius? And most probably it's a simple monoatomic, you can say, or simple molecules. Which elements are simple molecules or atoms? The elements which are having the lower melting points, most probably they are the simple molecules or the simple atoms. These can be A, B, C, D, because all these three, B, C, and D. Here the A written in this slide, this is not the element A, it's specifically written for its answer. So what is the answer for question number 3? B, C, and D all are having low or negative melting points. That's why we categorize them as simple molecules or atoms. Why does element A have a highest melting point? Due to the presence of strong covalent bond in their giant molecular structure. Compare B and D's melting point. What does this indicate? B and D. The melting point of element B is minus 7 and melting point of element D is minus 189. Both having weak intermolecular forces. D is slightly stronger because its melting point is a bit greater or higher as compared to element B. So D is slightly stronger as compared to D. With this, we just come to an end for your today's session. You just have to memorize all these answers and as well as fill your books and workbooks as well. Stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.